Welcome everyone to the second kickoff for the hackathon for Hack for Good, which is done in a collaboration between the Angular and the NativeScript teams. I'm pretty sure you're all already aware of the ngns.org website. So my name is Sebastian. I'll be your host for the next probably 20 minutes, half an hour. Just giving you a quick introduction to what we're trying to do. So some of you that joined this session earlier today, they're already working. But if you're like living to the west of Europe, in the US, like North or South America, you probably were asleep while we're doing the first kickoff. So I just want to do a quick intro to what we're trying to do. So just a quick overview of the agenda or maybe the timelines. So officially we kicked off at 10 a.m. like the Central European time, which you could think is a bit unfair on people who are in the US, but the whole thing is that the hackathon is for the full 4 days. So everybody gets exactly the same amount of time where they should be sleeping and doing some hacking and working and all the other things at the same time. So here is the deal how we see it working. So now that we kicked off the event, you should be able to, let's say by now you should have a teams formed, but it's still okay to form those teams now. But you should start working on the ideas that you want to deliver as part of this hackathon, and then basically exactly 4 days from 10 a.m. Central European time today until 10 a.m. Same thing on Monday, which is 96 hours later. I would expect to see all of your submissions for the hackathon, and then me and the judge panel will start looking at all the submissions and try to pick some of the best applications that I am sure all of you will submit. And then we will most likely announce the winners on Thursday. And I think the plan is to actually announce it during Angular Connect. So if you do a pretty good job, then you might get a shout out at a very big Angular conference in London. Well, this is a pretty awesome incentive. So project ideas. This is actually quite an important thing to cover. So it is okay for you to bring your own idea for the hackathon. So if you have any contact with any NGOs or hackathons, or you have an idea for a project that could make like your local community a better place and improve people's lives, then you're more than welcome to use those ideas. That would be great to see, because that will give us bigger variety of projects that we could get as a result of it. But if you don't have one, then we prepared a bunch of ideas for you, and then we talked to various NGOs that you can talk to. Well, we already talked to them, but you could use some of the ideas that they presented to us, and you have quite a bit of flexibility in terms of how you implement them. So I'll just do a very quick introduction to each of those, and then we'll talk more about where you can get more details. One thing though, for every of the, so we have 5 of them, so for each of them we have a Trello board that describes who is the charity, what is it that they're trying to achieve, and then kind of give you a bit more of the background. And then so basically for each of those you can find those Trello boards by going to bit.ly/hack idea 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. So the first one is SOS Children Villages. So that's a charity. It's pretty big one. I think they have about 35,000 people working around this charity, which is pretty huge. And they basically built little villages that are out there to help children. So for example, one example would be in Nairobi. There's a little town which has one of those children's villages there, and the kids, so for example orphaned kids, they can live in this little village, and they will get support and help from the carers that are around, and they will get helped and encouraged to go to school and get some education, and making sure that they sleep in safe and clean locations, etc., etc. But they also help people with not only the orphan kids, but if there's a kid that has some problems in the family, or maybe there's just single mother and she ends up in the hospital for some treatment, the kid has to go somewhere, so those kids can also get help, which is great. So that's one of I think the big challenge that they have is that when they have to kind of like, for every kid or maybe family, the carers, they have to go through an assessment form. And the assessment form can actually take about an hour or more to fill in, and it can range from anything to health status of a family or individuals, to like how are they doing with money, are they struggling, is there any violence around them, and kind of like you have to do quite a in-depth summary. And so the problem is that very often the people that the carers will be interviewing to build those summaries, they will be illiterate. So they kind of looking at the way, say, how could we have maybe an application that you could be filling up a form that has both text and images, right? So like you had a picture that could just show maybe some of the challenges, or whether they're happy about something, or you could put like a happy face or a sad face for something. If there is a problem with water, you could have I don't know, like a picture of a broken pipe or something, anything you think of. Next charity is the Disability Foundation. So that's actually a very small charity based in the UK, and they help mostly elderly patients. And so the whole idea is that they're looking for a way, maybe on an app that would be like for booking appointments. So there'll be two sides to it. Like on one side you would have therapists that would be saying, okay, so I have on this and this date those slots available, and then on the other side you have those patients with various disabilities who should come and say, okay, so I need this kind of appointment, and then they could provide a date and a time, and then that should kind of create an appointment or help them do it. The challenge here is that the actual user, especially the patients, they're very often they're not going to be used to like screens with everything is super tiny and everything. You should be looking for something that is more accessible and easier to use. Like the simplicity in here is the key, which is often quite a difficult thing to achieve. So that's a pretty awesome challenge. Tutor is another one. So that's a charity for they're looking at like a health tracker kind of application, and they're helping basically with like rare type of cancer. Now my mind went a bit blank of what kind of cancers, but they're basically looking at like, can we help them build an app that will help their patients to kind of like track how they feel on any given day, how are they affected by the medications that they're taking, or how do the exercises or whatever device that they're using, whether they're helping them or not, so that then they can share it with their doctors, and that would be quite helpful. Next one is Beyond Sports. So that's a charity in Bulgaria that kind of they're looking at how could we help communities to self-organize themselves in a way to create sport activities, right? Like maybe there's a small small park somewhere where you could put like a couple of sticks and then say, hey, let's do a small football tournament or something. And so they are looking kind of like, hey, can we create something like a Facebook but for self-organized sport events to bring communities together? And this is yet another pretty cool application that you could build. And the final one is CyHi. So that's another NGO where they're looking at how can we help them. So what they do is like they organize sort of like science fairs or like science events where kids in high school, so like kind of like age like 12 to 18, I think. They could, for example, say, hey, we are interested in like this type of scientific kind of day, that they would be, I don't know, try to build fake volcanoes or do some other things, so the kids could actually vote on what they're trying to do. And then this app should help like co-organize and then schedule it, and then bring all the kids and then teachers and everybody else are around together. And you can definitely find more information about each of those ideas in the Trello boards. Actually, before I move on, I'll show you one of the Trello boards so that you get a good idea. So this is one for SOS villages. So I do recommend, like you see, we have a Trello board for each of those. So go and review each of those and see what sort of which of those projects appeal to you the most. And my recommendation would be to go and clone the Trello board that you for the project that you choose to work, and you could use this Trello board to organize yourself, and like, you know, you already have some of the information in here. And like, for example, in the case of the SOS children villages, here's an example of and this is an actual form that they're using at the moment. So like I mentioned before, we're talking about illiterate kids. So this is a form where they specify, like, for example, 4 different goals on how to overcome the problems they have. So this will be like 4 different pictures, and then along the way they will be coloring these little blocks here, like in either green, red, yellow, depending on how well they're progressing in order to overcome this problem. So this could have, like, you know, there's violence, maybe there could be a picture of somebody being scared, or like if there's money problems, or maybe somebody needs books for school. So you could have all of those, and then they use that. So this is it's pretty cool. So yeah, I would recommend going and reviewing those individual Trello boards, and some of them have more information, some less. And you can also share some questions with us on the Slack channel later on. If like you pick an idea but you need a bit more information, then definitely it's a good thing to do. So those are some of the community ideas, and I already shared actually the links as well for you in the email. So pretty much everybody that subscribed or registered for the event, you got a few emails from me, one of which actually lists all those links to the Trello board, so that's cool. I cannot stress it enough, but like if you haven't done it yet, you should definitely join our Slack channel, and then there is a Hacking for Good. So yeah, you should join the NativeScript community Slack, and then there's a specific channel called Hacking for Good, and where pretty much like a bunch of other participants are already there. And this is a good place where you can ask questions. We have mentors monitoring it, like we have people from the core development team working on NativeScript, and we're very happy to help you out. And we already had some questions, but you also, if you have any questions with regards to any of the NGO ideas in the projects, please send them to us today, so that maybe we can get the answers from them, and we could, for example, send them back on Friday. But definitely joining the hackathon, it's good to connect with the mentors, talk to other participants, you know, drop us questions, you know. So that's pretty cool. If you don't have a team yet, and let's say you would actually like to work with other people, then there's still time to form teams. So use again the Slack channel to kind of announce that you are looking for a team. So just say it out loud in there, or just respond to people who actually said that they're looking for other people. And there's still time to form teams. Like it's perfectly fine. Even if you just form a team on Friday, you could even build a pretty decent application in 2 days. So it's not like you need the full 4 days. So there is still time. Don't worry. But if you want to work on your own, that's perfectly fine. Like either way, it's good. But it's always more fun to work in bigger teams. In case you're new to NativeScript and Angular in a way, on the on the official website that we had for this hackathon, so ngns.org. If you go to the Learning tab, there's all sort of resources that we published. But if you want one that kind of gets you straight into like the nitty-gritty of using Angular and NativeScript, you should follow basically in the so that's at our website. There's a courses and tutorials part. So you should definitely go to the Getting Started tutorial, which use our like playground tool to kind of build the project, and it's pretty cool. Like, you should be able to build something in like 2-3 hours, and you will learn a lot. If you're new to NativeScript, this is definitely a great way to start, and it also teaches you a bit about the development environments. And Playground is just like one of the ways of building applications. You could also use the NativeScript CLI, it's perfectly fine, but for learning, this is a great way to start. Submitting the results. So once you are done with the project, you can submit it to us. The deadline, like I mentioned at the very beginning, is Monday 10 a.m. Central European time, but anytime before that, it's perfectly fine. How to submit your results, we haven't shared that just yet, but what will happen on Saturday, we are going to update the website, and at least the navigation bar, and we will change the register to submit. So when it comes to Saturday, we will change that, and when you click that, that will take you to the right place so that you can actually share the necessary information on the project that you delivered. But it will also be very important that not only you share the project, but you also, if you're working on your own idea, you should give us a bit of description of what you were trying to achieve. Or even if you picked one of the NGOs that I shared with you, it would be good to kind of have like a couple of paragraphs of what was your take on it. And also, we need to know who was in your team, right? So like, if you're in a winning team, please include everybody on your team, because like recognition is pretty important, and also like you should be sharing the prizes. It's only fair. So the accepted format, you can submit your results in 2 ways. So if you chose to use the NativeScript Playground as an environment where you build your application, then what you need to do is there's like a save button which gives you a unique URL. So you have to just share the latest version of that URL with us. So that's how we will get access to that specific project, and the judges will be able to have a look. Or if you are using the NativeScript CLI and building your project locally directly on your machine, then we would encourage you to create a GitHub repo, and you should share with us a link to that repo. That's pretty much it. And just to make sure, when you're working on those projects, make sure that you build them with Angular and NativeScript, because that's pretty much the theme of this hackathon. So yeah. What's next? Prizes. So that's something we talked about before, but the whole idea is that when we'll be judging, like, the main prize is the judge's favorite, which is $1,500, and we'll be judging based on the innovation, design, and utility, and maybe some additional bonus points. We'll also have a prize for hacker's favorite, so we'll try to collate all the ideas and let the community to judge and vote for it, and mostly like you people who are actually building and participating in this hackathon. And we'll also have individual subcategories for the best design, or best innovation, or best utility. So how pretty it is. So like, maybe your app might not be the main winner of the judge's favorite, but you might have like the most beautiful app, right? Or maybe you have just this most clever idea, or the best way of utilizing your application. So make sure to, and here's just a small advice, like, make sure that you start simple before you jump into building a huge big project, right? Like, just make it simple, and then make as you progress through the application, expand on it and add additional features, and then make it work like that. Because if you just jump into like, hey, I'm gonna drop this whole 20 things, you might just confuse yourself. I think it's better to start simple, and just expand on it. Just don't give up. If you're new to mobile development, sometimes building mobile apps, it can be tricky, it can be frustrating. Don't give up. Just talk to us on Slack. We're happy to help you, and talk to other participants. And especially if you're in a team, like, you should be helping and supporting each other. And come Sunday, no matter, like, even if you don't think that, if you were planning to achieve 10 different features but you ended up with just 2 or 3 and it's not exactly what you wanted, still submit your project, right? Like, we want to see every single submission. We want to see what you worked on, how you build it, and you should be proud. Like, if you manage to just build a mobile app that's working there, share with us, like, because it's definitely fun to see that, and it will be good to see how much people are capable of building in such a good period. So if you have any questions, I could answer it now, or I haven't seen any questions popping up. If you don't worry, you can drop some of those questions on Slack, and yeah, I'll be monitoring it together with the team, so we'll be happy to answer those questions. So since there's no questions, thank you for your time.